Some of the terminology for possible grips you can have when you're using a knife, not necessarily in regards to EDC survival use, but more of tactical knife fighting terminology, like how you would hold the knife in different ways. I did research this. It is just terminology. It could differ from culture to culture, or, style to style. So this kind of helps to create some sort of reference. Okay. I guess we'll start with the Sabenza, huh? Okay. First, this is called the hammer grip, and they say that this is typically for people who are unskilled in a knife fight, or also just because possibly this is this is a very straightforward grip. The hammer grip is, but the hammer grip, I want to say, is something you will see more pushed upon the user by the knife design on some newer knives, because of a lot of the ergonomics now of newer knives, especially tactical folders. They kind of do the work for you. They form it to your hand so that you just hold it, and the rest is self-explanatory. Whether or not you have a good grip or not, or even the angle of the knife, is determined already for you. One of the problems with the hammer grip, in my opinion, is that it puts a lot of pressure right here, because you're really relying on that sort of fleshy area, which doesn't actually provide much stability no matter how hard you grip. There's still movement, and that movement can be a problem because then it makes this choil less effective, because if this area can give, then it's very easy for that choil to move up, and then you see. So also in terms of using and cutting and maneuvering, like I said, you see, to then angle the wrist closer towards the opponent, especially on strikes where you might have to go upward. So I switch to Saber Grip. You have to really twist your wrist in order to accomplish this motion. These motions require a lot of awkward wrist positions. But you'll see some knives, good designs, like for example, let's see the military, where they angle the shape for you, and even though you might be holding it in a hammer grip, it's giving you that angle that you're looking for, that pointing in that direction you're looking for. And this military is curved a lot, so this one is kind of an exception. You look for that. This one, for some reason, it doesn't rely so much on this area, because there's a lot of curve in here that kind of fills your palm and prevents it from moving back. So this is a very solid grip if you hammer grip it. So there's our exceptions to rules. It depends a lot on the design of the knife. But for most knives, when it comes to like EDC knives that are made for normal utilitarian purposes, you're going to see that they function very well in the hammer grip. They're always comfortable and generally meant for those kind of cutting tasks. And when you're cutting outdoors and stuff, or using it for tasks, like I said, it's not going to really matter that much because you have control over it. You can put the other hand and get through. It's good, but not the best for, in my opinion, for knife tactical use, except for the fact that if you find something like a military where it's an exception. Okay. Next thing would be then also the fact that, depending on the handle size of the hammer grip, it doesn't sit in your palm. So for thrusting attacks, you are relying on the grip of your fingers and the curvature of your palm. You're relying on some kind of shape and ergonomics to dictate that. For example, the paramilitary 2, when held in the hammer grip, doesn't sit in your palm. So there's no actual resistance back here to keep it from moving this way. For example, same thing with the hinder and the hammer grip. There's a curve at least. I would say that the military does that better. Especially not the Trizula, not like that, not in the hammer grip. You see, it's just an object that can slide right through. But something smaller than like a small Sabenza, you see, you can hold in the hammer grip, and it starts to hopefully get more into your palm. So those are considerations. Next thing would be called a Saber Grip. So the Saber Grip is what you see most people using for all the videos, knife reviews, EDC tasks. It looks like this, and your thumb is on here, and that kind of provides that stability from the knife going up. And a lot of knives then create ramps. The thumb is then used to emphasize, to prevent helping the knife control from going this way. Spycos are always designed with this kind of thought in mind, especially since when a Saber Grip is sort of still just a modified hammer grip to where you're still not really supporting it from moving backward. So you use it, no problem. Now, I mean, tactically, let's just say you were trying to puncture something. Just understand, when you puncture something like this is what you're relying on, and these fingers gripping it, and then the ergonomics. So, like if you take a hammer grip and you go like this and turn to a saber, you stab something. This one somewhat, just because of my hand size and the size of the handle, but you start to it kind of gets kind of risky, And one of the pros to the saber grip is, of course, then it does extend the point again a little bit out, so you don't have to curve your wrist or tweak your wrist as much to do different slashes, especially upward ones. One of the main flaws for it, in my opinion, is that then there's less stability this way. Past your pointing finger, this can happen. And if you just, if you were to say, like, in martial arts you want to go against the thumb or go against the fingers, I mean, your fingers are gripping, that way into your palm, but they're not necessarily gripping this way, down that way, so it just slides out. Unless you have a knife that you can get a full purchase on, like perhaps even like this, if you can or it's very compact, you can get a good grip like that. So there's still exceptions to all these rules. There's still exceptions depending on the knife design. But regardless, this may be a perfect one because it's small. You got a solid grip. Your palm's kind of covering it, and you can still kind of do that if you hold it just like that. But traditionally speaking, a saber grip would be more like this, where you're relying on this bulk, so this finger, this choil here. You're hopefully getting as much of a grip as you can around it to kind of keep it pinned in under, like that, and then the saber grip. We have reverse grip. A lot of people talk about reverse grip, and they always mention it, where the blade face is kind of towards the opponent, and a lot of knives have these designs right here for that. Now, reverse grip to me is very flimsy. I don't like it at all. I think it's bad. I think from my opinion, and they say that because this is not like a karambit where there's a finger hold, and this is not a double-edged knife, and this is, those are very specific made knives for fighting this way to provide the ability to hook, and it's taking a long-range weapon, well, at least a somewhat semi-long-range weapon, and rather emphasizing the reach you gain from having an extra length added to your arm, you're turning it into now a hook, a short-range weapon. So it can depend, but it depends also on your ability to draw. For example, your right hand is preoccupied by keeping someone off you. You use your left hand to deploy your knife, and you end up in reverse grip if it comes out of your right pocket. So here you are with reverse grip. Those are considerations, but typically speaking, your ability to slash is still functional. You have many options, but of course the reach is not as well, and you have to kind of tweak your wrist to kind of get it across. You lose a lot of reach, but also I think one of the biggest fears for me, and I've told you this from experience, is that you're relying on your pinky to keep it stable, and rather than even having now this upper portion of your palm push down on it and prevent it from sliding out this way, you can't really get this area because there's no real joint to do that, and you're relying on this pinky's strength to keep it from moving around like that. And so reverse grip can be very, dangerous. And then the only thing stopping it from moving up your hand, if you were to stab down, basically, what they would say ice pick. It's not an ice pick. It's reverse grip. Then it could still slide up. And then the first things that are suspect to damage will be the tendons of your fingers. So, okay. So reverse grip to me is a dangerous thing to do and not functional. Now, the next thing would be then the ice pick grip. An ice pick grip is basically the same thing as a reverse grip, but it's turned this way. And so in this sense now, it's basically when it kind of faces your palm, but not so much. It kind of rests kind of at an angle. You could hypothetically keep turning it. Let's see. Some knives will fill this out better. Some knives are not made for this. Most probably are not. And with this, still the same kind of flaw. I mean, these ergonomics are good. You see the round curvature. You know, you can do that. You know, this is a little better. Whether like this or like this, those aren't specified. But you can see, I mean, at least this one now there's, you know, compared to this, where the soft curve is here, and your fingers are lying right here to kind of keep that curvature from moving. You know, that's like your support here. This little area right here, like that. You have the other way around, where now this curvature is with these fingers, and like that. But regardless, at least the one difference is that it'll keep the finger tendons from being so immediately susceptible to any issues. So this would be called the ice pick grip. And again, now this is this would be even more like the style of a karambit, where you're hooking things using the blade. Obviously, this doesn't do well for any type of actual slashing or anything. This is purely for moves involving like locking or disarming, things where you have possibly another weapon, or your goal is to try to disarm somebody. Now, then the last would be called a complete grip, where the thumb rests on the top, and it's angled. The knife is angled in your hand rather than like a hammer. You know, if you're hammering, it's like this. So you turn it slightly, rather than like this. Let's see. It moves and angles forward, kind of like what a saber might do, but your thumb goes on top and the knife turns a little bit. Now this complete grip, in my opinion, is the best one, because it moves the blade in the direction, you know, in a good direction, so your wrist doesn't have to be twisted in such an odd manner. And it also makes it more easy to do upward slashes along with horizontal slashes. Thrusting is also more secure because it's in your palm, and there's an added stability from it moving up this way. One, because your knuckle keeps it from going this way, and then your thumb is an additional finger right near this area where this weakness was always, to help keep it down from going this way. So this is called the complete grip. Now you can see some of these in deployment. Deployment can help determine, can change some of these aspects. For example, if you pull out your paramilitary and you flip it like this, you know, you might be most ready to do a saber grip or complete grip. You know, that could depend. You pull up, tip down, your hands like this, and you flick it open. You know, what your hand initially ends up at. You can feel this hand wasn't designed for a complete grip. You know, you can do it, but it feels awkward. You know. Let's see. For example, now let's say like you have this and you're deploying, you pull it out of your pocket, you know, and you do the wrist shake motion, right? Where like you see how your thumb is automatically here, and you give it a shake, okay? Your hand goes like that. It's more like how you say automatically in the position of a complete grip. Let's see, the hinder. See, so you could do that. So that's a consideration too, is how you deploy it. If it's in your right pocket and your left hand is pushing the opponent away, and you pull this out and you flick it open, you're going to end up in a reverse. Reverse grip. So each one has its merits and purposes. You know, some, for example, like the complete grip, are better for stabbing motions. You know, while other ones, you know, are because of you maybe need to train in case you have to deploy with the other hand. Other ones are perhaps better for just more control, you know, EDC, angling the blade and just doing normal EDC tasks. Some sizes, you can see, depending on the thickness and how it's at your palm, you know, work well with hammer grip, but you ultimately have to figure out what is the one that's most comfortable for you and the one that you're most familiar with. You know, that's the one that you use, and try to find perhaps a design that suits that, you know. And you'll see, like I said, some of the tactile knives kind of just determine that for you. And then, now you have some specialties. Blades that you can see where they kind of just determine it for you. Very odd shapes. Ones like this, where, you know, whether it be saber grip, it slips out, or hammer grip, which there's a large choil, so it shouldn't, you know, or let's see, complete grip, not really meant for that. You know, these odder shapes, generally you'll see a large pronounced safety, and some of the other fun ones are the ones that have finger holes, where those help really secure it in your hand. And those are all other considerations. So to recap, we have, let's see, we have hammer grip, saber grip. Okay, we have reverse grip, ice pick grip, and then we have complete grip. Okay, so thank you